Adobe released Lightroom Classic CC 7.3, which everybody on the planet just calls Lightroom. Anyway, it's a new update. If you're a CC subscriber, it comes with your subscription, and it's way better. It's faster. They've improved profiles quite a bit. You probably don't know what profiles are, but I'll show you in just a second. And they moved the dehaze slider. So let's go over those improvements. First of all, it being faster. They improved the performance in many different ways, but especially the ways that I've kind of been asking for. Imports and rendering of previews now happen faster. Culling through pictures, either in the library or develop module, are faster. People have been testing this throughout the betas, and Adobe is claiming huge performance increases, and everybody who's testing it are seeing smaller import performance increases, but nonetheless, it is faster. It feels faster. Thank you, Adobe, for continuing to make it faster, because we really need Lightroom to be faster. So I appreciate them continuing to work on it. Next up, this is easy. The dehaze slider is now in a different spot. So if we pick a picture here and go into the develop module, dehaze used to be down in a ridiculous place, and now dehaze is right here in the basic module below clarity and above vibrant. So now you can see kind of the effect of dehaze. It literally, if you drag it left, it makes things hazier. If you drag it right, it basically adds more contrast and a little more saturation. So that's it. It's in a different place. Next up, profiles. They're also mostly in a different place, but they extended this functionality too. If you remember, profiles used to be at the bottom, and literally nobody used them. In fact, most people I talked to didn't know profiles existed. If you've ever been importing pictures, and in Lightroom, it'll show you a preview of your picture as you're importing it, and it might look great, but then you click on it and you bring it into the develop module, and suddenly all the colors change, and you're like, wait, I like the colors before, not these colors now. Why did you change it? The reason that happens is profiles. Because when Lightroom first pulls your pictures in, it'll show you basically the JPEG preview that your camera made. So that is showing you your camera's color processing. But then when you go into the develop module now, Adobe's working with the raw file and applying their own color profiles, and it can be different. But Adobe has always given you the option to choose from many different profiles, including those that very closely match the profiles built in your camera, but nobody knew those profiles were there. So they moved it right to the top. Now it's right here in the basic module, and so you kind of can't miss it. And that's important because profiles were useful, but it was just being hidden by the design of the user interface. Profiles only apply to RAW files. They do not apply to JPEG files. So you will not see it there if you're working with RAW files. So first of all, the default is still going to be Adobe Color, which is slightly different from the Adobe Standard. You can see as I kind of switch between them, it's a little bit different. So you can go through this list and kind of pick different colors. This is a portrait, so we'd probably pick Adobe Portrait. And if we switch over to Adobe Color, you can see these are a little bit different. Portrait is kind of optimized for skin tones. It maybe kind of makes everything look a little bit better, but it's a subtle change. Rather than just going through the list, there's a better way. Look at this little box, set of 4 boxes here. This now allows you to browse through all the different profiles. Most of the time, you're going to be looking at your favorites here. And so now I can kind of preview each of these different profiles by just hovering my cursor over them. And what this is doing is giving me a starting point. Profiles are not like the presets that you have over here. Whoa. Okay, that's a bug. There we go. Okay, so they're different than the presets. The presets are creative tools that apply changes to your exposure and your vignetting and that kind of thing. Profiles change the way Lightroom actually renders your RAW file. They only apply to RAW files. And so profiles are your starting point. Presets are more like a layer above that. So by default, you'll have these 6 favorite profiles, which are the same profiles that have kind of been always in Lightroom. And then if you want to go down further, you'll see camera matching profiles in this group here. Camera matching profiles are designed to match the profiles built into your camera, and they're specific to the model of camera. So let's pull up our metadata here. You can see that this is taken with Sony A7 Mark III, and these camera matching profiles are matching Sony profiles. So I can flip between each of these, and I should get looks that are similar to the ones that would come out of my camera. Now, let's switch to the next picture down here. This shot was taken with the Fuji X-H1. So if I look over in the profile browser here and I look at the camera matching options, you'll see that now I have all these various like film options, because these are what based on the profiles that are built into the X-H1. So people who, maybe you're shooting a Fuji and you like the JPEG so that you can take advantage of all these profiles, you can do it in Lightroom. In fact, you've pretty much always been able to do this, but like I said, it was just buried in the user interface and they didn't have this kind of cool little way of previewing it. So besides the grid up here, you can also pick large, which just gives you a little bit bigger of a profile, a preview, but crops into it really weird. That's maybe not the user interface choice I would have made. I still like grid better, and still the best way is just to hover your cursor over and pick the best starting point. So let me make a quick point here. Adobe's intention with the design of the basic panel has always been to have you start from the top and work your way down. And so first they want you to choose between whether you want to process it as color or black and white, and then they want you to pick your profile. So it's right here. So you'll kind of click this to go through the browser and pick your starting point. And then when you've done that, then you'll adjust the exposure up or down. You'll adjust the contrast. One note about my dog here, her eyes completely disappear. I'm going to have to figure out some way to actually make it seem like she has eyes, because I promise she does have eyes, but they never appear in photos. They're invisible. Okay, so that is basically it. I like this change in user interface. I like the new user interface they built around profiles. None of these features are really new other than the performance improvements, but I think it'll still make us work a little bit quicker on a day-to-day basis, and it certainly makes the experience better. If you don't yet have Lightroom CC, if maybe you have an older version of Lightroom, you won't be able to take advantage of these features. You won't even be able to process the raw files from cameras like the A7 III or the Fuji X-H1 necessarily, or whatever the next new camera is. So if you want Adobe CC, you can get a free trial at sdp.io/Adobe deal right there. And if you want to actually learn how to use it, including things like profiles that you might not have known about, you should be checking out my video book. I have versions for Lightroom 5, Lightroom 6, and Lightroom Classic CC. So pick your poison over at sdp.io/store. We also have books on Photoshop and, of course, photography. You can also just search Tony Northrup on Amazon and find my books and look at third-party reviews and stuff. Thanks so much. If you have any follow-up questions or comments, add a comment down below. Give me a like, subscribe for more free videos. Bye.